Hello and welcome to my video where I talk about everything I watched in May. I didn't get to watch as much as I wanted to just because life kind of got in the way and made it hell for me. So there's less here, but I still think I got to watch a lot of cool stuff anyways. So let's start with the first one. The first thing I saw was Eraserhead, the first movie by David Lynch. It's very experimental and weird and very dreamlike. It's gorgeous to look at. I've always been a fan of black and white and just how stark that kind of look is. This is very much, I would consider, a horror movie, but maybe somebody with a different viewpoint might see it as something else. This is also my first David Lynch movie. I've really appreciated his work that he's done for Twin Peaks, and I appreciate a lot of his stuff even without seeing it. I have a copy of The Elephant Man that I'm planning on seeing sometime soon because I was fascinated by this. The effect of the baby is very scary. I am happy that it has not been revealed what it is, because you look at it and you're just kind of freaked out by it. It doesn't look like something of this earth. It's very bizarre. But yeah, this is, again, very dreamlike. There's a thin plot of, I wouldn't say thin plot actually, but a framework where the main character is going to become a father, and we see his sort of mental comprehension of that. It's very interesting, very, very good. The next movie I saw was Cocaine Bear, which I was very disappointed by. This one was hyped up a lot on social media, and in my real life I had multiple people recommend it to me. Very disappointed by how little gore is in this and how little the cocaine bear is in this. Definitely a budget issue since it's a CG bear. Doesn't make it any less disappointing that a movie called Cocaine Bear has 10 minutes of one. It's mostly like a comedy, which I'm fine with. It's not good comedy, despite me really liking Lord and Miller's previous works like Spider-Verse and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and the Jump Street stuff. I don't hate any actor in this. They're all doing fine. This doesn't feel like... It's weird to say it doesn't need to be made, but like, if you're gonna make a movie about a cocaine bear, get the budget to do one. Most of the movie is just people walking around in the woods and just talking. It's so slow. This feels a lot longer than it is. It's 96 minutes and it feels like it's like 2 hours. It just keeps for a while they just keep introducing new characters too, and you're like, God, when are they gonna stop? And they just keep going. And as many have pointed out, the ambulance scene, probably the highlight. When there is gore, it's very mixed, but the ambulance scene, it feels like they got just about what they wanted to, conceptually, if that. Yeah, very disappointed in this one. I think my score is pretty generous. It's not really bad looking at all. Like, technically, it's fine. Yeah. Watch this one if it sounds interesting. I had no real take on it. Another one that I really, really liked was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I love all of James Gunn's superhero stuff, as I've mentioned. I've still yet to see Slither and Super, but his Marvel and DC stuff, the Guardians movies and the Suicide Squad are all awesome. And this is, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely like the top of a mountain. It's like the Guardians movies are like climbing Mount Everest, and this is where you hit the peak. You get all of the nice character send-offs and moments that have been built up over the past 10 years of these characters and these movies. Love how character-driven this is. Just it being about the team wanting to save Rocket makes it a lot more personal, while the stakes are still high because of the amazing villain, the High Evolutionary, who's just nasty and evil and much better than Kang in Quantumania, the Ant-Man movie. Yeah, I really like this one. Despite its more bleak tone than Guardians 1 or 2, I still think it's very funny. I laughed quite a bit at the movie, and I laughed when I was supposed to. It never felt like it was during an emotional scene. In fact, the emotional scenes are some of the best parts because you get so worked up in them. I don't cry to movies, but any movie that gets kinda close, it's like, you did a good job. This one got pretty close. Some would say some of the themes are heavy-handed. I'd kind of agree to a certain extent, but it's clear to me that a lot of this came from a genuine place, so I kind of look over stuff like that. Yeah, Marvel movies, in terms of quality, this is a very good one. It's better than Ant-Man. It's not till next month I talk about the Spider-Verses, but in terms of superhero stuff, Guardians stuff and Spider-Verse are like the peak for me, where they're just, feels like they're making movies specifically for me to enjoy. Yeah, Guardians 3 is very, very good.
Someday, I'm gonna make great machines that fly. And me and my friends are gonna go flying together into the forever and beautiful sky. Lila, and Teefs, and Flora, and me. Rocket.
Did a rewatch of Evil Dead Rise. I've talked about this before. Felt about the same with it. Probably because I've seen it before, I thought the movie went by a lot faster. Definitely felt less long. Again, probably because of a rewatch. I really appreciate the lighting in this one. I don't see many horror movies, especially today, that I'm too impressed by some of the technical stuff that isn't the visual effects. But lighting-wise, this looks fantastic. Being able to see everything in a horror movie is very nice. All of the performances are great, even the kids, which is very hard to do. I just saw a movie that I'll be talking about next month that had not so good kid actors. But this one has good ones, which is probably why they're so well used in this. They don't ever put them on screen too much to like really start to have the cracks form. They're in it enough to get their story presence and, you know, to show like they're good. There are some crazy effects in here, as with most Evil Dead things. I guess it's a spoiler. I'll try and be vague about it. Some character has goop come from their eyes and nose, and I legitimately have no idea how they did that. I probably mentioned this last month. I do not remember. But it's such a seamless effect, and I have no idea how they did it. It's fantastically done. Yeah. I watched with friends on this viewing, and they talked full volume over part of the movie. I will not be naming names, but they will probably see this. I did not appreciate that. That was not fun.
Rejected by the elders of our church, myself, Canon Damien Shanahan, and Father Hugo Cortez have been working in secret to translate the Book of the Dead's myriad writings and glyphs.
Next up, I saw The Quick and the Dead. I love Sam Raimi. I have not seen all of his stuff, and this was one that I had never seen before, but I've always been interested in because I think westerns are so cool. And this is basically just a western that's constant shootouts. I guess more like duels than shootouts. But you get this quirky band of characters meeting in this town for an annual duel competition, and it's so fun. It's got a breakneck pace. It goes by so quick. Yeah, Gene Hackman's in it, Lex Luthor. Leonardo DiCaprio, early role. Sharon Stone, Tobin Bell, Russell Crowe. Everybody's in this, and they're all so great. They're all playing fun characters that you get to learn throughout the movie. As with most Sam Raimi stuff, shot very, very well. Lots of personality. Again, love westerns, so the more minimalist, I guess you could say, production design of rundown-ish buildings and taverns, saloons. I love all that stuff. It looks great here. But yeah, each of the shootout duels in the movie are all unique, all have a little twist on them, and all kind of matter to the plot. With a movie that feels like there's tons and tons of them, you'd think they'd kind of get old, but they didn't get old for me. I loved all of them. Yeah. Gene Hackman, in terms of characters, is probably the highlight. He's a nasty piece of work, and that's exactly why I love watching him. I was surprised to see that this had a very middling Rotten Tomatoes score. So I hope people have changed their minds on this, because this is up there for me for Raimi ones. It's really cool.
Man's dead. Court's winner. He killed Eddie. Good. Fighting horse cannot be killed by a bullet.
I also saw the documentary Director by Night about the making of Werewolf by Night, the Marvel special. I don't have much to say on this one. It really is a basic documentary in terms of how it's kind of presented, but it's not even really about Werewolf by Night per se. It goes into the making of it a bit, and you get to see some of the really cool effects and props that went into it, and that stuff's all great. But the true story here is about the film composer Michael Giacchino, I believe is how you pronounce it. I might be wrong. And the kind of upbringing of him and his home movies and the friends he made them with, and it's real charming stuff. It's so cool seeing how they made the effects. I believe in one part they scratched the frames of the film they recorded on to create lasers and effects, and that's awesome. You can't really do that stuff today, especially with shooting on film being rarer and rarer. Yeah, this is a good documentary. I think it's amplified a bit more if you know some of the work Michael Giacchino's done for composing, as well as just seeing Werewolf by Night for the section that is about that. It's kind of boosted if you know those two things. But yeah, very enjoyable documentary.
You may know Michael as an amazing composer, but he also is a very talented director.
Werewolf by Night. This is something I've been wanting to make since I was making movies when I was a kid.
I also rewatched Singing in the Rain. This has become one of my favorite movies in the 2 watches I've had of it. Pacing worked better for me this time. Again, probably because it's a rewatch and I know what's going to happen and I know all the little beats, and I've watched the songs for this over and over and over and over and over because they are all so good. The Broadway melody section, which is 12 minutes long, felt about half that this time. It's a very long section that kind of doesn't matter. Yeah, this is real good though. Fantastic choreography. I love tap dancing, and it's so good here. The Moses scene is, as I've probably mentioned before, my favorite. The tap dancing is amazing. I have seen that scene at least 20 times. I love it so much. All of the music is memorable. Whether you like it or not is personal preference. I like about 90% of it. Donald O'Connor steals every goddamn scene he's in. I love Make 'Em Laugh, even as stupid as that song is. Yeah, I've talked about this one before, so I'll move on, but this is a masterpiece. Great musical, fantastic movie.
All right, here we go. Quiet! Roll 'em!
She's got to talk into the mic. I can't pick it up.
Cut!
Another movie I watched was Fast Five, my favorite of the Fast and Furious films. I have seen this probably 3 or 4 times now, which is almost embarrassing, but I find this movie so cool that I kind of don't mind saying that. It's definitely got my favorite action scenes of the Fast series. You start with the cool prison break with the bus tipping over, and then you move on to stealing cars from the side of a train, and then the little chase after that. That's so cool. And I don't even mind spoiling it because I think everybody knows at this point. The Dodge Charger bank vault heist, where they strap a bank vault to 2 Dodge Chargers and connect it and run it through Rio de Janeiro, just smashing stuff and police cars, and it is so goddamn good. It's that final action scene is probably one of my favorites ever. I think it's awesome. This is the first one with The Rock in it. He is given hilarious dialogue. It's kind of hard to imagine somebody watching this and then still saying they hate Fast and Furious, because this is like one of the few legitimately good ones. Most are very enjoyable for me. I think I like almost all of them, at least that I've seen. Yeah, Fast and Furious is so cool. I love Fast and Furious. You're gonna see a few more on here, but again, this one's my favorite of the series. I have seen it, again, a lot of times. It's kind of the start of a little trilogy of these. Fast 5, Furious 6, or Fast and Furious 6 and Furious 7 are all kind of a little story. And if you want to start a series, I recommend with those 3. There are loose connections to previous ones, but it basically works on its own, like that. And now, let's move on to the other movie.
Hey, we found him. Yeah, second to the last raider.
What is it?
DEA tags. These cars have been seized.
Fool's Paradise is the most disappointing movie of May that I watched. I really wanted to love this. I was very excited because I love Charlie Day. But this was lame. I appreciate sections of it when they're filming the Western film. I thought it was pretty cool. And then as the movie gets going, it kind of gets more and more annoying as it goes on, which is not a great sign. Funny moments are sprinkled throughout. I would say that the laughs kind of die down as it goes on, but there are sections where it's like, oh, this is really funny, or sections where it's like, oh god, this is not funny. It's so inconsistent, and I wouldn't even know if I would mind that if the movie wasn't so just, obvious with its themes and what it's commenting on in Hollywood. It's just so bland, and it's disappointing because I really like Charlie Day. I think if this was given a better writer, it could be really great, but it's so lame. Like, the movie looks great, it's lit well, it's shot fine, like, costumes look great, sets look great, whatever. It's just, the script sucks, man. And I just wish I could like this, because all of the pieces are there for a movie that I would like. I like the trailer for this quite a lot, actually. That's what got me super interested. So it sucks to see, like, people that I like, lots of people that I like, just wasted on this movie. There was also, when I went to see this, like 8 other people in the audience. I think they felt the same that I did. I think there was like 3 college frat dudes who really liked it. Everybody else was like, and didn't laugh much. So there you go. There's my review of this movie nobody saw. After that detour, back to Fast and Furious with Fast and Furious 6. This is one that I think I wish was better. It's fine. It's got parts I like. The last act with the airplane is pretty cool, pretty fun. Everything up till there, though, is very hit or miss. It's got a really lame villain. I don't think Luke Evans is intimidating at all. I'm not exactly scared by him in the same way I think The Rock or Jason Statham are intimidating in this franchise. Gina Carano, the terrible, terrible lady from Mandalorian, is in this. Yeah, there's just really nothing to say about this one. In comparison to Fast 5 and Furious 7, this one just feels so bland. And it's weird because all 3 of these, same director, Justin Lin, it just feels like maybe it's because they were cranking them out so fast, but it feels like they just kind of threw ideas to the wall. And sometimes they do stick. Most of the time they don't. They don't really use the London setting very much. The Rock working with them is kind of cool, if expected. Yeah, there's just really nothing to say about this one, and that's kind of my biggest problem, is that you watch it and you're like, oh, that was kind of neat, but you don't remember anything after it. And with nearly every other Fast and Furious movie, I could at least remember a lot of cool stuff that happened during them. I rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy 1 because I bought the Blu-ray of it, and I watched it with the director's commentary track. Listening to that track made me realize just how much Gunn had planned from the beginning, because he's like talking about these characters, and I just realized by like halfway through, like, oh yeah, I think he generally knows where all these characters are gonna go. Which is pretty cool. On rewatch, I kind of like this one even more, even with the director's commentary added. Just with the context of where these characters end up. I think it's so goddamn good and makes them all more satisfying, even though I already really liked them as movies before. Yeah, not much to say about this. Again, commentary track watch, and I've talked about it before. But goddamn, this movie rules. Hell yeah.
I live for the simple things. Like how much this is gonna hurt.
I watched another Fast and Furious movie, Too Fast, Too Furious. The nicest thing that I can say about this one is I really love the vibes. The Miami, Florida vibes are cool as hell. So even when this movie is being boring as shit, I think it's still kind of cool. I noticed with this one, this is back when they did street racing in these movies. These ones feel pretty long, and they're only like 3-4 minutes. That's weird, right? The music's very good in this, actually. The score, not the lyrical music, especially during the races, very like techno stuff. I appreciated that because the modern Fast and Furious scores are boring as shit. If there's anything to critique in those movies, like, they are boring. I also couldn't tell what was happening in this movie for like half of it. It felt very quiet at times. I think I needed to, and I watched this like 3 weeks ago. I needed to read part of the Wikipedia page to understand what's happening in a fucking Fast and Furious movie. Not a good sign. By the second half, I kind of got what was going on. Ludacris is advertised on like all of the posters for this, and he's in like 5 minutes, and he's a mainstay in the franchise now. That's interesting. It was also interesting to see Roman be more like aggressive and so hating Paul Walker, but they really do drop that in like the last 20 minutes, maybe even like last 30 minutes. They just kind of magically get along off screen. I guess it's a spoiler, but like, who cares? The part where they jump a car into a boat is awesome. Very Fast and Furious. Besides the street racing, that's about as close as you get to the new ones. Yeah, I think this one's just fine. It's not a great Fast and Furious movie, but it's like a whatever movie. I mean, that's kind of all you could ask for. So, I'm sure some people like it more than me.
Hey man, everyone's here. Time for the show. Let's give it to them. All right, let the party begin. Let's go.
And finally, the last Fast and Furious movie I saw this month, Fast X. This one is very controversial, apparently, whatever that means. I enjoyed this one, man. Is it very good? No. It's pretty like whatever, along the lines of about same general quality lines as Fast and Furious 6. But goddamn, like, I was having a blast. This movie's really funny. Like, laughing at it, by the way, not with it. Pete Davidson has a cameo. One of the main villains in the movie, we are introduced to him in a scene where he's in like a corporate super room with computers everywhere or something. And he's like, these people, every time they fight somebody, they recruit them to their family. It's like a cult with cars. And I was laughing at that. I thought, that's pretty funny. That's pretty self-aware too. And then the guy says, I hate barbecues. And I laughed for the remainder of the scene. And I was laughing so much, I thought I was going to cry. They needed a reason for us to hate this character, and they came up with, I hate barbecues. God, is that so funny. Onto the decent stuff. The action's just fine. It's about what the outsider to this franchise probably thinks Fast and Furious is like. And I'm sure people who came for that enjoyed that. I did. I thought it was just fine. John Cena gets a car with cannons attached to it that blow up other cars. Like, holy shit, that's cool as hell. They chase a runaway bomb on fire, which doesn't make any sense but I eat that shit up. I love that goofy shit. I don't even care. Jason Momoa plays a pretty good villain. He's very much, as many have stated, like the Joker. And he is the unironically best part of it. He is hamming up his performance, and he is so goddamn fun to watch. I love it. I wish this didn't end with the biggest fucking cliffhanger, because it's gonna be like 2 years till the next one. Like, holy fuck. That cliffhanger. I'm not talking about Spider-Verse this month, but this cliffhanger is worse than Spider-Verse's, and you can fight me on that. It's bad, man. It's so bad. That's like the one part that I actually don't like at all. The rest of it I was kind of cool with. I was just chilling and having a good time with the family. My family, the Fast family, man.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. Okay, song lyrics, stub toes, and tan and cars.
Another documentary I saw was Too Funny to Fail, about the very, very short-lived Dana Carvey show. I've seen this documentary before. I really like it. Lots of cool comedy people that I respect, and some that I don't respect because they've since been canceled. Oh well, what are you gonna do? It's cool seeing how much Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert are friends. Very wholesome stuff. I should probably explain what the Dana Carvey show is. Comedy sketch show riding off some of the highs of Saturday Night Live that failed near instantly when they had Dana Carvey dress as George Bush with like 6 nipples breastfeeding babies and dogs and cats. And even though I think that's really funny, general audiences, 10 million people, didn't care too much, and they shut that shit off. But yeah, very interesting documentary, despite the relatively short subject matter that they're covering, a show with only 7 episodes. It really doesn't get boring at all, and it doesn't get too bogged down in details. It's very well paced for a documentary. I think this is a story too that anyone can kind of get, as long as you have mild awareness of who Dana Carvey is. He's in Wayne's World. That's kind of all you need to know. But yeah, very interesting documentary. I still really like this one.
It's the Dana Carvey Show.
When I left SNL, I kind of decided that it'd be fun to do sketch comedy again, but with more creative freedom.
I also saw the original Little Mermaid in preparation for the new one. This movie is so goddamn good that I am pissed that I never saw it earlier. Songs, all great, all performed really great. My least favorite's probably the Les Poissons one. It's fine. It's really not bad at all. Just not one that I'm ever like coming back to, like, oh, I gotta listen to that one. Gorgeous animation, character design. Everything just looks great. It's no wonder this kind of saved Disney, despite its admittedly simple story. I think that works for Disney a lot of the time. Simple stories with a good hook. Yeah, the fact that I'd never seen this, despite knowing generally the events and loving it this much, yeah, it's very good. It's hard to say much more than what people already have, because everybody kind of knows this. I really enjoyed Ursula. I think she's a great villain. The fact that she's based on Divine, that's so cool. Yeah, for Disney stuff, this is probably up there for me in terms of, like, favorites. It's not my favorite of all time, but damn. let me be clear that I am biased towards any movie with like sailors or pirates in them. I just think they're cool. Yeah, everybody already knows this is good. Everybody's already seen it. Apparently I didn't, because I didn't remember much of this. Yeah, very, very good.
What I want from you is your voice.
My voice?
You've got it, Sweet Cakes.
I saw the new Little Mermaid just a few hours after the original, and I am one of the few people, because apparently this is received quite well. I did not like this one, and I don't think it's because I saw the same movie twice in a row, because I honestly didn't mind that. The pacing was fine. I kind of wish that some parts were like a little long, but not enough for me to say like, oh, that was on forever. Like, no, it was perfectly fine lengthwise. I kind of wish it was shorter because the animated one did it shorter. Some of the songs are fine versions. I don't hate the Kiss the Girl. I want to say cover, but it's not really. I guess it is a cover. Part of Your World is pretty great. Very good. Probably, in terms of songs, the highlights. It's impossible to talk about this without talking about the Scuttlebutt song, which is fucking terrible, and everybody already knows it is. It's very heavily hated on YouTube, but played well in the screening that I went to. People thought it was really funny that the bird was... I think the bird was twerking, which really proves we are living in weird times, man. Like, geez. Awkwafina as Scuttle, the seagull, not a decision I particularly loved, especially since, like, that character really isn't, like, hugely important. I'd kind of rather the character not be there than be voiced by Awkwafina. Just feels like an odd choice. Yeah. This one looks fine. I know a lot of people weren't huge fans of the underwater CG. Personally didn't bother me, but I also kind of just didn't, like, care. Like, if it looks bad, I really didn't care too much. Yeah, the Prince Eric song in this is terrible. I hear some people saying, like, oh, it's fine. Like, in the screening that I went to, nobody responded to it. Nobody cared. Nobody gave a shit, which was pretty funny. Yeah, I wish I could have enjoyed this more. I guess the last thing I'll say is Ursula was better than I expected, because she's played by Melissa McCarthy, who I am not a fan of, but her design was good, and the performance was also pretty good. I was pretty surprised by that.
I admit that in the past I've been a nasty. They weren't kidding when they called me, well, a witch. But you'll find that nowadays I've mended all my ways. Repentance in the light and made a switch.
Next, I watched the Darjeeling Limited, the Wes Anderson movie, to get ready for Asteroid City, which comes out in June. I kind of knew nothing about this going in, except that it takes place on a train and has Owen Wilson in it. I wish I liked this one more. I kind of have these same thoughts. I wish I liked it more to a lot of Wes Anderson stuff. I'm not a huge fan of Grand Budapest Hotel or Moonrise Kingdom, or I think Isle of Dogs is pretty good, but I really like his more, like, super duper quirky stuff like Fantastic Mr. Fox a lot more than his more laid back stuff, and this is definitely more laid back. It's not bad at all, but it feels like it's trying to say a lot, and I'm not sure it really worked for me. And it's not even like the movie has a lot going on, but there's so much going on with the characters, and this is only like 90 minutes, so you're obviously not going to have all the time in the world to flesh out every single idea. This would probably benefit from a rewatch, I think. I think this is also a pretty funny movie, mainly at Owen Wilson. The way he got these bandages on his face, I thought was quite funny. I do not want to spoil that. I love the set design here, actually, since it's all set in India. It is very colorful, and the train set, which I believe was like a real train they made for this, I might be wrong about that. It's gorgeous. I always think trains with like cabins to sleep in are really cool. I would love to go on one. Yeah. This was a cute one. It didn't do super much for me, like, theme-wise, even though I kind of dug the general story beats. I could follow all of that and got a decent little movie out of it, even if I didn't love it at all.
Is that Dad's razor?
Yeah?
Can I say something?
What?
You don't have permission to take his property that belongs to all of us and use it for yourself as if it's yours. Jack agrees with that, right, Jack? Plus, Dad would have hated it.
Why?
That's my opinion.
Another movie that tries to tackle a lot and doesn't really work for me is Top Secret, the comedy film by the Zucker brothers and Jim Abrahams. I've talked about the Naked Gun movies and Hot Shots before, and I like those. Top Secret really didn't do it for me. It's really trying to balance a lot of different kinds of movies, and while I think it could work, the story is very hard to follow. Another Wikipedia article read, but I did that after the movie for this one instead of in the middle of it. It's trying to balance the tropes of Elvis TV movies that he did, and like war films, and just all sorts of genres, and I think it could work. I think there is a solid movie here, but it just didn't work for me. There were like long gaps between laughs, like multiple minutes, and that's never great when your whole thing is you're a comedy. And I wasn't in a bad mood when I watched this at all. I was in a bad mood from the next movie I watched after this. Yeah, I really wanted to like this one because I've heard great things about it, and I think the premise of it is a decent idea. The songs are great. They're all mainly covers of Elvis songs and other songs of that era, but they're performed by Val Kilmer. I forgot his name for a second. He did all of his singing and dancing for real, and it's so good that it kind of made the movie worth it to me, because his cover of Tutti Frutti is really good. I've listened to it a few times now. Love it. I will say that by the last 20 minutes of this, when they're doing the little heist thing, I start to really dig it, but everything leading up to that is just like, it's fine, you know? There's some really great gags early on, but the middle chunk of this, man, is rough. It was really rough. And finally, the last movie that I watched this month, Kentucky Fried Movie. This is terrible. This is actually the worst movie of the month. I watched this by recommendation. It is a sketch comedy film, not related to Kentucky Fried Chicken at all. It's related to Kentucky Fried Theater, a comedy group. Again, the Jim Abrahams and Zucker brothers group that did Top Secret. This is terrible. It's racist. It's sexist. I don't remember if it's homophobic. I'll need to check in on that. But yeah, it's a bunch of sketches linked together loosely by the idea of like TV advertisements or news broadcasts or feature films or just all sorts of stuff like that. And some are good, few are good. There's maybe 4 or 5 in the whole thing that I kind of liked. But most are just unfunny, just real bad. There's a parody of like porno, and a parody is supposed to be funny, and it was just porn. Like, that's not really a joke. That's just kind of the thing you're trying to make fun of. Another bit was like a guy who does dangerous stuff, and so you're like, oh, he's in a wingsuit, he's got goggles on, but he's in the middle of the city. What's he gonna do? He goes up to a bunch of black people and yells the N-word. Real funny stuff. I'm sure this was in the 70s. Got a big eye roll out of me for that one. I should probably mention some of the good bits. Scott Free, a board game where you have to hide yourself after assassinating JFK. Very, very funny. That is so goddamn good. Feel Around, a new theater experience that I don't even want to spoil what this one's about, but where they make everything in the movie like you feel it. So say like a character puts on perfume in the movie, it gets sprayed in your face. I'm not saying it very funny like, but trust me, it's pretty good. I gotta say, about 95% of the bits in this go on way, way too long. They are all stretched out. The main feature in this is a parody kung fu movie called A Fistful of Yen. And it is like 35 minutes. I might be wrong about that, but it's at least 30 minutes, and it just goes on, and you're like, where the fuck is this going? And then they end with a shitty Wizard of Oz parody. It's not even a joke. They just like do the scene, but with the Asian actors in place of the roles. It's not a joke. There's another bit that goes on, which is like a courtroom drama parody that's like 10 minutes. And there's just like, it felt like I knew they were trying to tell jokes. I just couldn't care less. It was so boring. It's the most boring comedy bit. I will say that the good bits and the good jokes scattered throughout do give this a 3. And also, it's not a horrible idea for a movie. I guess I would barely call it a movie, since it's really just sketches thrown together, but movie's in the name, so that makes it a movie. Yeah, didn't like this one really at all, besides a few bits that really did stick out. But most pretty sexist, some pretty racist, almost all of them very outdated. Even my favorites in this are fairly outdated. Yeah. Look up some of the best bits on YouTube. Don't bother watching the whole thing.
Come in. I'm in the den.
Guess who?
Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Oh, Donald. You're always kidding.
I see you've started smoking again.
I'm on another diet.
Oh.
And you didn't even notice my perfume. Smell.
So I accidentally deleted my previous outro, so forgive me. I don't care enough to record it, so bye.